Hey guys, welcome back to more political chatter. Today we will be talking about this new poll that we have from the state of Texas that shows quite an interesting potential Republican primary in that Senate race, which could really pave the way for a Democratic victory in the general election. Yes, it is absolutely possible as of now, looking at how the Republican primary is going for this Texas Senate seat. It is entirely possible for Democrats to flip this seat, especially if James Talarico, in my mind, the strongest candidate in this field, comes out as the Democratic nominee. So this could be quite an interesting race, and I think it is absolutely in reach for Democrats if Ken Paxton is the nominee. Now, Ken Paxton is the Attorney General of Texas. He's very far right. He is very MAGA aligned. Now, he's running, as all these candidates are, against John Cornyn, who is the incumbent U.S. Senator. And it looks like another person, another main candidate might jump in the race to try to primary John Cornyn as well. Apparently, John Cornyn is just not MAGA enough for Texas Republicans, and all these candidates are jumping in the race against him. Of course, John Cornyn is a major candidate. Ken Paxton is his main challenger, leading him in most polls. But it looks like the U.S. rep from Texas's 38th congressional district, Wesley Hunt, is going to throw his hat into the ring as well. We have new reporting from Axios that's saying he is leaning into getting in the race. He's running ads 200 miles away from his district, and his team even conducted a new poll that we have. So in the regular race, three-way race between Paxton, Cornyn, and Wesley Hunt, the three main candidates, if Hunt does in fact get in, we see, look at that lead for Ken Paxton. 38% of the vote for Ken Paxton, by far the weakest Republican in the field, next to John Cornyn at 28%, a 10-point lead for Ken Paxton here in Texas. Meanwhile, Wesley Hunt not far behind at 23%. So it is obvious Wesley Hunt getting in the race severely weakens John Cornyn, and it makes sense. They're both more of these establishment, more middle of the road, at least more than Ken Paxton type of candidates. They are taking from the they are, they're taking from the same base of Republican voters, of traditional Republican voters. This is paving the way for Ken Paxton to carve out a victory in this primary. And you could see, even in the recent polling, John Cornyn is faring much better than when Wesley Hunt is included in the race. Some months ago, Ken Paxton was leading by wide margins. And this is every time you see only Ken Paxton in red here is because he wins outright. In Texas, they have runoff primaries. If no one cracks 50% of the vote, then it goes to a runoff. In all these polls where only Ken Paxton is shaded red, he was winning the runoff outright. Or I'm sorry, it didn't even have to go to a runoff. He won the regular election outright, 52% to 39. That's a what? It's a 13-point lead there in Texas. 17-point lead from April to May. Over 50%, 56%, 50%. When they're both shaded, it means that no one cracks 50% and they're going to run off. But what you'll see in these most recent polls is that this race has been getting significantly narrower. In August, we saw Ken Paxton, his lead, come down to 6 points. Then we had a poll from Emerson, an A-rated pollster, very accurate pollster, that showed John Cornyn ahead by 1 now, and then down by 5, and then down by 3, and then leading in this Texas Public Opinion Research poll, the most recent poll yet. Look at that lead, 6 points, not for Ken Paxton, but for John Cornyn. So this is essentially a dead heat race, right? Polls showing about a 5-point lead for John Cornyn one day and Ken Paxton the other. That's just the polling error. They're essentially tied as of now in this race. So clearly what this poll indicates, with Wesley Hunt getting in the race, is that this would severely weaken John Cornyn. I mean, he's about tied right now, and this poll shows him down by 10. We haven't had a Paxton plus 10 poll since June, literally since June 17th, through the 22nd was the last poll where Ken Paxton was ahead by 10 points or more. So, this would be detrimental to the Republicans in this, this would be detrimental to John Cornyn and therefore detrimental for the Republican Party in general. Because Ken Paxton is an incredibly weak candidate for this race. Remember, Ken Paxton is this very far right figure. He wanted to arrest Beto O'Rourke for advocating for the Texas state House members, the Democrats that fled to Illinois during the whole gerrymandering war there in Texas. This is a very, far right figure who is who is always involved in scandal after scandal after scandal. I mean, there's always something with him and his wife. Him and his wife got divorced a few months ago, actually, right when he announced his bid for Senate, because she knew he was having an affair, and then it came out just a couple weeks ago that he was having an affair with some like YouTube lady who had like 12 kids. So you know, you get the idea. Main point is he is an incredibly weak candidate because of his personal life, really. And Democrats could really use that against him. And I brought up James Talarico before because, and I said, of course, he'd be the strongest candidate. And I really think that he would be, especially if Ken Paxton is the nominee. Because James Talarico is someone who leans heavily into his faith. He is a Christian pastor, and sort of that juxtaposition between someone at, you could tell James Talarico is a good, honest sort of guy. I mean, anyone could tell that right off the bat. Seeing him, compared on a debate stage or whatever, in a TV commercial, even him compared to Ken Paxton, this guy, who preaches the Bible, I'm sure, so much as all Christian, or I'm sorry, as all Texas Republicans do. And then when you look at his actions, completely whatever. You get the point I'm saying. They are two completely different people, and James Talarico is just so much more of a good moral person than Ken Paxton. And it would really, shine light on this whole Republicans being the party of Christian values sort of thing. I really think that it would decrease. I think it would decrease support for Ken Paxton and the Republican Party among this huge block of voters, especially in southern states like Texas, that turn out for Republicans because of faith. I think that Ken Paxton would lose many of them. Maybe they don't vote for James Talarico simply because they disagree with James Talarico, especially on social issues. But I don't see them, or some of them. Obviously, most are still going to vote for Ken Paxton, but enough, I feel, are not going to vote for Ken Paxton to shift, end this, give this race to the Democrats and James Talarico. And this race is so important for Democrats there in Texas because when you look at their path to control the Senate in 2026, Texas is, right in the middle of that path. You've got Georgia and you've got Michigan. Those are already Democratic seats that Democrats must hold. You've got North Carolina, which Democrats need to flip with Roy Cooper. You've got Maine, which Democrats, if Graham Plattner's the nominee, they will flip Maine. But they absolutely need to flip Maine. They need to beat Susan Collins there in Maine. And then where do you look? That leaves them with 49 Senate seats. Republicans at 51. They need two more for an outright majority, or just one more for a tied Senate, in which Vance cast the tie-breaking vote. But where do you look next? You look to Texas. Texas right now, in my forecast, I have it as a lean Republican state, 4.5%, Ken Paxton being the winner. But that's just because right now it doesn't look like James Talarico is in the lead. By the time of the primary, I think he will be in the lead, and I think he will be the nominee. If the race is Ken Paxton versus James Talarico, I will tell you right now, I would put that as a tilt Democratic race. Looking at the national environment, looking at how unpopular Trump and congressional Republicans are, looking at how depressed the Republican turnout will be in 2026, and looking at how exaggerated the Democratic turnout will be in 2026, I would be comfortable, everything together, Talarico being such a strong candidate, Paxton being such a weak candidate, put it all together, I think you would have a Democratic plus one state. And look at what that trend would be. If Democrats were to flip this race, That would be about a 14-point overperformance for the Democrats for James Talarico from 2024. It would absolutely be an uphill battle, but it's sort of like the perfect storm is being cooked up here in Texas. The perfect storm for a Democratic victory. It looks like it is possible. Everything when you combine it all together, you've got such a the weakest possible Republican leading the field. You've got the strongest Democrat possible not leading the field yet. Already, it looks like is still in the lead, but I believe, the national energy is behind Talarico. Donors are behind Talarico. I would say Talarico will be the nominee. Very much a Beto-esque figure that could really excite people. And yeah, the perfect storm is happening in Texas for a Democratic victory. So Texas is a must for Democrats. I mean, just based off margins, I'd put Alaska next, but you absolutely need Mary Peltola there. I mean, it's not possible with any other candidate, but it does. There was reporting some a couple months ago. It does look like she is gearing up for a bid. So I would watch Alaska as well, but I would watch Texas first and foremost. Texas, this would not even be a race. That would be on my radar if Ken Paxton was not in the fight in the ring. If this was Cornyn and we knew it was going to be Cornyn and there wasn't really a competitive Republican primary, even with Talarico's the nominee, this wouldn't be on my radar too much. I mean, obviously, this wouldn't be a deep red race, a deep red state, but it wouldn't really be on my radar as a potential flip for Democrats. But Paxton being in the race, in the primary, that really changes everything and it really gives Dems a shot at winning this seat, which would be absolutely huge for the party. So thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. That helps out a lot. Drop a comment. Let me hear what your thoughts on this. Like this video as well. It helps in the algorithm. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all later.